And the buck that's been in here, he's been in here for years this year, and this is the year to target him. He's getting up there in age, and he's right on the verge of starting to go downhill. So we're gonna target that buck this year. We haven't had a lot of luck getting footage of him in the past, but we've never really tried to target him like we're going to this year.
It's a deer we've tried to get for a couple of years. We changed things up this year, and he's through here a lot.
In the deer woods, you get out what you put in. Whether a weekend warrior or a year-long fanatic, in the end, you'll earn every inch. For us, that's a 365-day-a-year grind, scouting, setting up, making it a lifestyle. There's no words that can describe what deer hunting means to some, but a picture is worth 1,000 words. And now for nearly a decade and over 100 episodes, we've shared what it means to us in film. And more importantly, we've had the opportunity to watch, hunt, and just enjoy some of the biggest and oldest deer that call the Whitetail Woods home. This is Season 8.
Dean Partridge's Canadian Whitetail is proudly brought to you by Ozonics, undetectable, undeniable. Elite Archery, the world's most shootable bow. Stealth Cam, proven reliability, proven quality, proven performance. Excalibur Crossbow, the most trusted crossbows on the planet. Big & J long range attractants. The aroma is super strong, the range is super long. Nocturnal lighted nocks, switch on accuracy. The Heater Bodysuit, #1 in cold weather hunting gear. Hoyman, your land, your legacy. Black Eagle Arrows, superior carbon technology. Central Boiler, outdoor wood furnaces, performance and value by design. The Whitetail Institute of North America. Under Armour, go where you don't belong. And by Limb Saver, products that work.
This week we're hunting one of the coolest bucks that we've ever followed, and we're hunting that deer with one of the funnest gals that we've ever hunted with, one Miss Adele Peters. Now Adele has had a rough patch when it comes to deer, mainly attributed to us. We began taking Adele out 3 years ago in search of that big mature dream buck. And over those years, nearly 60 days in the blind and a few close calls has yielded almost no results. And the last couple of years, our focus has been on a buck that we call Hank Jr.
Fortunate to have followed Hank since 2011, we'd watched him grow over the years. Always wide and most often with a split G2 or extra time between his G2 and his G3 that would switch sides depending on the year.
It was now 2015. Hank looked great and Adele had hunted him all season long without an encounter. Actually, the only encounter all year that we had with Hank Jr. was the one night towards the end of the season that Adele couldn't make it out and her husband Scott had taken her place.
Alrighty, here we are, all settled in for another evening of fantastic Saskatchewan whitetail hunting. Sitting with Scott tonight, Adele's husband. He's actually kind of taken over her spot here.
As luck would have it, on the one night that Adele could not make it, Scott was about to have the encounter that she had waited all season long for. Hank had made an appearance, rutted up to the extreme, neck swollen and drooling. Hank only had one thing on his mind. Now in person, Hank looked very healthy, and he also looked like passing him this year would be the right decision. And Scott and Steve watched Hank Jr. walk away. Hank survived the season and grew again in 2016, and after several sits with no encounters, it wasn't until shed season, while out looking for antlers with Steve and my son Magnus, would we put our hands on Hank. Again, he'd beat the odds and survived the year.
This segment has been brought to you by Nocturnal Lighted Nocks. Simple, string activated. And now you can get 15% off all items by entering promo code Whitetail15 at Faradyne.com. Nocturnal Lighted Nocks. Switch on accuracy and let it glow. Canadian Whitetail has also been brought to you by Slick Trick Broadheads and Dual Game Calls, Glendale, the biggest and toughest 3D targets in the universe, Bog Pod, more than just a shooting rest, Raculator, score your trophy fast, easy, and accurate, and by Scott Archery and Custom Bow Equipment. This segment has been brought to you by Bog Pod, more than just a shooting rest. Bog Pod, prepare for the unknown.
It was now 2017 and we'd made some changes, hoping to get in a better position to have a chance at Hank Jr. We've hunted this spot before. We just moved everything this year, and that's because there's a big drainage that runs for 1.5 miles all the way down to the river, and it's kind of a creek that runs through right here. And what happened is we used to have the blind up here, and it gave the deer the opportunity to follow this edge and get in behind us. So we backed up into the bush here. That's going to give us a better chance to beat those deer. We took the Hueyman and we got some of the shooting lane cleared out here. It's just full of that silver wolf willow. We're going to use all of that to brush in the blind. And the buck that's been in here, he's been in here for years this year, and this is the year to target him. He's getting up there in age, and judging by the horn growth this year, it looks like he's probably gonna be the best he's ever been, and he's right on the verge of starting to go downhill. So we're gonna target that buck this year. We haven't had a lot of luck getting footage of him in the past, but we've never really tried to target him like we're going to this year, so hopefully this is gonna work. Get some Big and J out and a trail camera up, and hopefully we're still getting pictures of that buck coming through here.
Set up early in June, when we returned to check our stealth cam, well, the old boy Hank was right there. And we watched Hank grow all summer, looking the best that he ever had. Wide, tall tines, exceptional mass, and now multiple splits. This was exactly why we had let him walk. The season now open and conditions right. Adele set up to take a few last practice shots with her Excalibur Crossbow before heading to the blind. Heading in, there was certainly cause for concern. Hank was bigger than ever, but our track record trying to film him was poor. The only thing we had going for us was the new spot.
We're back. It's 2017 now. And we're not even going to talk about the last couple of years, right?
No, right off.
We're visionaries and we're going to look forward. We've had some problems the last couple of years. But it's a new year and we're not talking about Adele. We're not talking about that anymore.
New year.
It's a pretty cool spot. It's a deer we've tried to get for a couple of years. We changed things up this year and he's through here a lot. I cut my leg on the way in on some barbed wire. And Adele is not very nice to me because I am trying to milk it for some sympathy. And the theme so far has been suck it up. I don't like these working conditions. There's no first aid, no sympathy,
Gross it.
nothing. So.
Welcome to this week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment. Locate, learn, set up, hunt. Brought to you by Big and J Long Range Attractants. The aroma is super strong. The range is super long.
Deer supplements, feed, and attractants. It's something that generates a lot of questions for us. And whether you're in the far north or the deep south, knowing when to use certain products can be critical. We get so many viewer questions about putting out minerals, and we'll get those questions in November about where they should place that mineral. You shouldn't. November is not the time. Late in the year, you need more of a consumptive attractant. That's a feed that the deer actually ingest. So from early spring through those summer months, that's when deer utilize those mineral products like Big and J's Legit or Meltdown, because that's when their bodies require what those minerals provide them. As we get into fall, September, October, November, and into the winter, those deer require a feed-based product like BB Squared, or like whatever you might be using to supplemental feed your deer mixed with a Dudley Dust. And that's because at this time of the year, whether it's because of temperatures or because of the rut, deer are going through an incredible amount of energy. And just like with humans, the only way to replace that energy is with good quality nutrition. And it's easy to remember once you start to think about it. The spring and summer are for those mineral type products, the fall and winter are for more of a feed product. And once you start utilizing the right product at the right time of year, it's going to help you keep your deer healthier. And that's your Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment for the week.
This week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment has been brought to you by Big & J Long Range Attractants. This segment has been brought to you by the Heater Bodysuit. The Heater Bodysuit is the ultimate cold weather hunting garment that allows you to stay on stand longer and sit comfortably. The Heater Bodysuit. You stay warm or your money back.
In and settled, and although not with our target buck Hank, we were about to have a very rare encounter. This buck may not look incredibly impressive here, but he's a mature buck that we know well and had hunted in 2016 when he was a Boone and Crockett class typical. This year, for some reason, he had lost 30 to 40 inches of antler growth, a massive decline for no certain reason from 2016. And after years hoping for an encounter, now that he was here, we were going to let him walk, putting an end to the evening. The next evening, in and settled early, the bucks were moving. Almost unbelievable. Again this night, we have another encounter with the old stunted buck. 2 encounters in 2 days with a buck that we had had no encounters with the previous year. As the buck approached, he looked to the west, cowered, tucking his tail and leaving quickly. Something told me we were about to see Hank. And after several minutes with light fading, we finally spotted movement in the silver willow. It was unmistakably Hank.
Whitetail Insights, brought to you by the Quality Deer Management Association, ensuring the future of whitetail deer.
We had a little bit of an interesting topic this year come up. Last year in Saskatchewan, locally here, we had one of the easiest winters on record, and we noticed quite a few deer, an upper age class deer in that 5, 6, 7, and even older age class. They held their antlers extremely late, which was quite unusual for us. We had some deer hold them right into April. And we also noticed this spring, and it's something that you and I talked about this spring because I was curious about it. We noticed some of those deer that held their antlers so late like that, they were way behind this year, and they never caught up to the rest of the deer on the antler growth because I felt it was because the growing period was shorter, but that's something that you looked into for us.
Deer that hold their antlers longer in the winter, it's often because the conditions are very good and easy on the animal. Certainly if they're nutritionally stressed or there's something going on, they're injured, they often lose them early. So if they hold them late, you think this is good, they're going to come out of winter in good shape and grow an even larger set the next year. But there certainly was a couple that you had this year that wasn't the case of.
We're not certain if it's because they held their antlers late or because just on that deer's growth cycle, or you don't know, that deer could even be sick from something that's completely unrelated that's not showing itself. We just brought it up because we found it odd that it kind of lined up well that the deer that shed on time were having a phenomenal growth year that we would expect after having such an easy winter and an early spring, and those deer that had been making gains every year in their antler development this year just immediately stopped or recessed, and we identified those as the ones that shed their antlers a lot later in the season.
So I looked through all the research. I talked to some of the best deer researchers in North America on what is it, and there's really nothing been done on that. They've seen where they can make deer grow a couple sets of antlers in a year or keep a set for more than a year, but nobody really knew exactly what was going to happen with that. And I think what's interesting is certainly the history that you had with those deer, so you knew exactly what they had done the last few years, and you'll be able to see where that deer was, in June of last year versus June of this year, July of last year versus July last year was very, very telling.
Well, I'll be curious to see what they do next year too, if they shed on time this year, and if they come back next year, or if they continue to digress. It might give some insight into what happened this year.
This Whitetail Insight is brought to you by the Quality Deer Management Association. Become a member and ensure the future of whitetail deer. This segment has been brought to you by Central Boiler Outdoor Wood Furnaces. A central boiler easily connects to your existing forced air, in-floor radiant, baseboard, or dual heat system to heat your entire home in domestic water. Central Boiler, performance and value by design.
Welcome back. Before the break, with light fading fast, the buck that we called Hank Jr. had made an appearance, and Adele was about to have her chance to take aim and put an end to over 7 years of history in just 1 second.
In here, he got worried, and then when he left, like, we were wrong. That Foxfield buck wasn't the boss. Hank's the boss.
Yeah. Holy crap! I can't believe it.
We just went out of light when Adele shot the buck that we call Hank, and Steve and Connor weren't very far away. They were filming, so we just stepped out and grabbed the arrow, and then we went back to the truck here to wait for Steve and Connor. But the arrow looks really good, hey?
Yeah, it looks really super good.
A little bit of fat on the end, but he was quartered away pretty good, and I mean the shot looked perfect, so not too worried.
There he is. Yes. Well, I can't believe that this moment's actually happening. It's been a couple of years for sure since I shot my first whitetail, and I've had some ups, some downs, some missed opportunities, but it was all worth the wait. It's a beautiful deer. I wasn't sure if it was going to get the opportunity tonight. It was getting late, but he came in and took the shot, and he didn't go very far. Pretty awesome, pretty exciting. I've sat between 50 and 60 nights in the last 2 years, and I just didn't think it was going to happen, and then this is just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a buck of a lifetime.
Well, congratulations, Adele. That deer is incredible.
Definitely.
He is as good as we thought he was this year too, hey?
Yeah, definitely.
This deer's been he's been awkward over the years. Actually, Steve and Scott filmed him in here one night 2 years ago, and in person, once we seen him in person, he was way bigger than he looked on the trail camera.
He did, yeah.
Last year, we spent a lot of time hunting him because he looked really good on the trail camera. We didn't have any encounters with him. And then Steve and I and my son Gus were out one day shed hunting. We picked up one of his sheds, and it was way smaller than we thought.
Yeah, he was.
And then this year on the trail camera, he looked tremendous again, but we said, well, we're not going to trust that because it seems to vary year to year on him. But the second he stepped out there and he skylined, it was like he's back to a good year. Well, there's another buck here that we called him the flax buck. Last year he looked tremendous. This year he went way downhill. Like last year he was like a high 160s buck, and this year he's maybe 130, hey?
Yeah.
And he was really ruling a roost in here, and we thought that maybe he was keeping Hank Jr. out of here. We had it wrong. There's the boss. And congratulations again. That's a heck of a deer. You might be a little while before you find a bigger. I hope you find a bigger one next year, but it might be a while. And it was pretty cool for me, and I think Steve too, to kind of be part of it for the last few years, and to watch this deer. It's been really cool to watch this deer.
Well,
He's I mean, he's one of the original kings. He made it through that hard winter, and
He sure did, yep.
he's a king buck of,
Pursuit
if
of
anyone is.
this fella, the story's over.
It can be very frustrating to put in so much time, so much work, 3 years, nearly 60 days in the blind, and yield almost no results. However, when you have that much time in, when success finally comes, the reward is just that much sweeter. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Canadian Whitetail.
This segment has been brought to you by Wild Edge and the ultimate climbing system, the Step Ladder. Safely design your climb in any tree, anywhere, with the most versatile, lightweight, and compact climbing system, the Step Ladder. Canadian Whitetail has also been brought to you by these fine sponsors. For exclusive content, follow Dean and the team on Facebook, as well as on Instagram and Twitter @WhitetailDean. To view all our past and present episodes, as well as new original content, visit our YouTube, Carbon TV, and Waypoint TV channels. For Canadian Whitetail gear and apparel, visit CanadianWhitetailTV.com.